Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my monologues. And let me say first of all, yesterday apparently there was some problems with the sound, and I'm hoping that you can hear me all right today. Some people said they couldn't hear the sound at all, and others said it was just very quiet. And I'll tell you what happened. There should have been sound on it, and I checked it on numerous different machines, and I also asked a couple of other people to just tell me if they could hear the audio on the video yesterday. What happened when I was setting up the camera and the lights, as I do, I must have not quite plugged the radio mics, which I use, this little radio mic here, in when the lead goes into the camera. So what you heard was camera sound, i.e. the sound was picked up by the microphone on the camera, which is some distance away, which often makes it a bit quiet. And I noticed that in the edit when I was putting it together. So I boosted the sound as much as I could and added a little bit of bass to it so it didn't sound quite so tinny. And it sounded all right on my editing software. But apparently a number of people had issues. I do think that the smartphones sometimes only play one track, the left-hand track. So you don't get, when it comes out the speaker, stereo. And that's a problem sometimes if somebody's recorded something and they think they can hear it and all they're hearing is the left-hand track, and then when it goes out nobody else can hear it on smartphones, but other devices it does. So anyway, I apologise for that. I hope you managed to make out what I was talking about, and it didn't overly lessen your enjoyment of the videos, if enjoyment is a correct term to use when watching my nonsense. Anyway, I wanted to talk about knowing thyself in today's video, but not what I initially thought I was going to talk about in Knowing Thyself, which was a much more spiritual version, which I think is the version that one should be talking about. However, we know that we know that the birth certificate, or the copy of an entry, is such a big deal, isn't it, in everything that we do. It all comes back to this copy of an entry, the birth certificate, an entry of birth that the government or the Crown Corporation have. And it is a big deal because we go back to that one document that we don't hold the original when we want to open up a bank account, when we want to prove identity, when we have a building society, when we have utility bills or anything like that. We often, or a passport particularly, and then once we've got these other documents like a passport or a driving license, we're able then, because that's a complicated means to get to having a passport or a driving license, particularly a passport where you have to have witnesses and various things, then you can use your passport to prove who you are elsewhere, particularly at borders, of course, but with utility companies and so on and so forth. But it all comes back to the birth certificate. And mortgages and things like that, they all ask for it. And yet on it, as we've all now realised, and it's there staring us in the face like so many things are, that it says this document is not evidence of identity. It's not proof of identity, which when you think about it, how can it be? How can something that's been registered by government officials, kept in wherever it is, up in London, in birth, death, marriages, house, whatever they call it, how can that prove who you are? It can't. It's a bit of paper, isn't it? It's a bit of paper that doesn't have your mum and dad's signature on it, for one thing. It's only got one witness, I suppose, which is the registrar. And it even says you can't use this as identity. So everything comes down to this document. Now, I was thinking, and also, when you have this document, you become, and you accept this document, and you use this document, which creates the all caps name, so that banks, passport, utility bills, council tax, all use this utility bill, all use this all caps name created from the birth certificate. It enters you into their system. It enters you into their jurisdiction. And we now beginning to understand, are we not, gentle viewer, sitting there with your smoking jacket, your Persian slippers, and so forth? We're beginning to understand we don't want to be in their system, because their system is one of fraudulent outgoings and corruption. Their system is talking about a dead entity that doesn't exist. We now begin to understand that, although people still write to me and say, I've written a letter to so-and-so to push back against council tax or a utility bill, and they show me the they show me the copy of their letter, and they still call themselves Mr. Fred Bloggs or whatever it is, even knowing that the name is the most important thing. They still use a title, and they still use their surname and capital first letter, capital last letter, and they still say, you know, address themselves as Mr. so-and-so, so-and-so. And I think to myself, have you learnt nothing? Have you learnt that you're now still in the system? Even though you're pleading against them, you're still in the system. You're still saying, oh, but I'm a free man, I'm a living man, I'm this, I'm that. But you've addressed yourself as Mr. You've given yourself a title. Who gave you that title? And you're using effectively the all caps name, but in upper and lowercase. And you're still using the legal fiction. And yet you're declaring yourself a free man, which is, of course, an oxymoron. You can't be. You can't be one and the other. You're either one or the other. So I thought, if we need a birth certificate in this world, and I don't think that we necessarily do, but if we do, shouldn't you make your own? You've got a newborn baby. Your baby's been born. You're going to call him Harold for the sake of argument. Harold, lovely name. I'm going to call him Harold. And the family name, let's say, is, I don't know, I'm just trying to, suddenly you go blank, you know, Beaverbrook. Harold Beaverbrook, there's a name. And so the family name is Beaverbrook, and I think he was in the war, wasn't he? But anyway, that's irrelevant. It's just the first name that came to my mind for some weird reason. Anyway, Harold Beaverbrook. So why not make up your own birth certificate? And then you could say, this is my baby, and he was born on this date. He weighs this much, this amount of, you know, for personal reference. I mean, not that that bears any relevance, apart from, of course, you know, people take that weight, don't they? And then they sort of turn that into money, and then that's an investment on the stock exchange and so on and so forth. But so perhaps you don't want to do that. But you could just say, this, my child, my son is called Harold, first name Harold, of the family of Beaverbrook, born on this day at this time. That's really all it needs from these parents, or his mother and his father. That's really all that it really needs, isn't it? You don't need a number. You don't need QSIP number. You don't need any other details, but you might want witnesses. So you might have some friends who come in and say, well, I'll witness that this baby is yours. And then you've created your own birth certificate. Now, to me, it seems perfectly natural and, in fact, more authentic if the mum and dad create a birth certificate which they have the original copy. It's not kept, it's nothing to do with the Crown, it's nothing to do with the government, it's nothing to do with officials anywhere else. It's your piece of information. And if you needed to, someone says, oh, we need to see the birth certificate of this child. I mean, it can't prove the child anyway, because it's still hearsay, isn't it? You've got two witnesses, plus the mum and dad, but you are closer to the truth, if you like, with four people being able to vouch that this little individual crawling around on the floor is going by until it's 18, or a time when, 16 or 18, when it's grown up and able to cope and decide for itself what it wants to do. For the moment that you're in charge of it, it's your property, because the mother birthed it, or gave birth to it. And that's it. You know, that seems to be a much more natural thing to do, to have a birth certificate that is made by the mum and dad. A birth certificate made by the government? What right have they got to have a birth certificate? I mean, we've fallen into this trap thinking, oh yes, officialdom, we have to do this in an official way. Why do we have to do it in any official way? Who says? Only the government says, not you. And I mean, when you think in the old days, people just made a note of who was born, when they got married and when they died in the family Bible. The family Bible was the place where all this notification, you can still find Bibles which will have listed in it those important things prior to the birth certificate, prior to the government getting involved, prior to them trying to officiate everything in a certain way. We don't need that system. So in a new world system, in Biggleswick, for example, the birth certificate is completely irrelevant, or at least the government's birth certificate. In Biggleswick, in an ideal world, in a vision of the future, in a way that we might, and if you needed to have a record so that you could, you know, because it is obviously going to be quite useful to be able to prove to a degree that you are who you say you are, other than this is me, then I think it should be that the mum and dad who were there, perhaps a midwife or a doula or a birth assistant could also be there to sign to say, yes, I witnessed the birth. Perhaps some other people who know the family can witness and say, yes, I can vouch that this is the same child. You wouldn't need a photograph, obviously, because the babies grow up and change their facial features. Otherwise, we'd all look bloody same. And I think that would be the perfect solution. You could argue, yes, but Richard, that could be forged, couldn't it? You could easily forge that. My goodness. They forged the moaning Melisa, didn't they? The Mona Lisa, the moaning Melisa. They can forge that. You can forge anything. But you couldn't necessarily, well, everything's up for forgery. But you'd have to get in touch with all five, let's say there were 5 witnesses, the mum and dad, the midwife, and then 2 friends. You could go to any one of those and say, can you confirm this document is correct? So that would be more difficult to forge. The birth certificate, it's just a printing job, isn't it? You could easily forge that if you needed to. So, but I'm not necessarily saying that we need a birth certificate anyway. I think just keeping it in the Bible or a family album to say, oh, this is, and you could put pictures of the child growing up, that's enough proof. We don't need to have all this officialdom. It is a nonsense. It's got us into trouble. We can see that these people are using it. They're contacting us with the all caps name, and we all believe that that's who we are when we're not. We're so not that thing. And it's been proved beyond all possible doubt now, and I don't understand why people still use it. When I get a letter that comes to that, I just return it and say, I'm sorry, I don't know who you're talking to. If you want to talk to me, my name's Richard. This all caps name and stuff, I don't know who that is. So, I'm happy to correspond with you, but just make sure you write to Richard and none of this other crap. And of course, they can't. They can't do it. Anyway, there we are. In the future, in a vision of the future, we should take back control. We make our own birth certificates if we need them, if we feel we need them. I mean, it's no more than an affidavit at the end of the day, isn't it? And that's a statement of truth. I hope that was interesting. I apologise for the sound. Thank you so much to those who've been donating. I really, really appreciate it. I cannot tell you how much I really appreciate that, because you are keeping the channel going, and it's just wonderful. You are wonderful people, and you are greatly appreciated. Very much so. Anyway, that's my thought for the day. I will leave you now as I smoke my pipe and get back to a bit more editing of my book, Biggleswick. Till next time, goodbye.